Thanks, Gordon. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're almost there. One more after me. John Cameron asked me to talk about Phytophthora, and I will do that, but I want to focus on an issue that is potentially far more important to you people in the chickpea industry, and that's purity of your seed. So, GRDC and New South Wales DPI, the University of Adelaide and Queensland DAF have invested a total of $2.5 million in a project to develop chickpea varieties with improved resistance to Phytophthora. And the person that's going to lead that is Sean Bithell. Sean, if you would please stand. Sean's coming to the dinner tonight, so make yourself known to him, and his task is to fast-track the transfer of resistance from the parent of those plants there, which is a wild relative of chickpeas, Cicerochinus spermum, into a chickpea with suitable agronomic properties. So that's the hybrid with the wild relative, back-crossed several times to make it look like a chickpea, but it's retained the resistance to Phytophthora. These 4 rows here, a PBA HatTrick. This site's been inoculated with the Phytophthora organism, and as you can see, the HatTrick's going down, but these 4 rows here are standing up quite nicely. So Sean's job is to move forward from there. Now, that trial that I just showed you was in 2012 at Hermitage, and what we do is we inoculate the entire site with Phytophthora at planting, and half the plots are treated with metalaxyl, which controls Phytophthora root rot in chickpeas. So the seed's treated with metalaxyl, and at 3 or 4 times during the growing season, those plots are drenched with metalaxyl. And this graph here shows you the difference in yield between those plots that received metalaxyl and those that did not. So this is percent yield loss up here, and this is the variety. So that D line there, that was the one on the right-hand side of the previous slide. There's HatTrick, and this is Boundary. So in 2012, Phytophthora root rot caused over 80% yield loss in PBA Boundary. This is Yorker, which currently has the best resistance available in any commercial variety. This one here, Cicer 0912, that's the next horse out of your stable. So that'll be released hopefully in the next few years. Now, Phytophthora root rot at chickpeas, the organism that causes it can build up very, very quickly within a single growing season. And if conditions are favourable for Phytophthora, it can get really nasty. And that's what happened at Warwick last year. So this is the same type of trial, the same varieties, but you can see that even this highly resistant hybrid with the wild relative, the yield loss has gone from 14% to 30%. And what's happened here is all these commercial varieties have come closer. But still, the 912 is standing up reasonably well. But here's HatTrick. Over here, it was only a 60% yield loss compared to 82 for Boundary. Here, there's no difference. So if conditions favour Phytophthora, all current varieties will go down. And we saw that last year in the Dalby region. This is PBA Boundary, which was promoted very heavily in that region because of its Ascochyta resistance and its high yield. It's a great variety, but don't plant it in a paddock that you think has Phytophthora, because if the season favours it, and it was only wet earlier in the season in the Dalby area last year, this is what will happen. So this is the last Phytophthora slide. So the take-home message for you for managing Phytophthora is in this slide. So these 2 paddocks here are owned by the same farmer, they're same soil types. This paddock had only ever had 3 crops in it, and they were all wheat, until 2012 when the grower decided to plant chickpeas, and he thought he could plant Boundary because of its resistance to Ascochyta, and we didn't think that this paddock was going to be a Phytophthora risk. We were wrong. And the reason we were wrong is the grower didn't tell us that prior to the 3 wheat crops, this paddock had a 30-year history of coulotai grass and medic. And it's and medic that's the critical factor that determined this. So the crop started dying in July 2012, and by the end of August, the Phytophthora was so bad the grower sprayed the crop out. This paddock here, same variety, same soil type, just different history. This paddock had a long history of farming and therefore plenty of opportunities to control medics. So this is your take-home message for Phytophthora root rot in chickpeas until Sean Brithell gets better resistance into your varieties. So the rest of this presentation is about chickpea varietal purity. Your chickpea crops are mixtures of varieties. How do we know that? Well, I'll show you. So while we go through these slides, think about these questions. Does it matter if they're mixtures of varieties? And why is it so important to know what you're growing and the level, if any, of contamination? So it comes back to Ascochyta. This is how I got involved with this work. We can control Ascochyta in chickpea varieties as susceptible as Jimbor. So these two plots here, this is our 2011 Ascochyta trial at Tamworth, where we deliberately introduced the fungus during a rainfall event, and we have control plots where we control the disease by spraying with chlorothalonil fungicide, which is the way you manage the disease. If you don't spray varieties like Jimbor, which are susceptible, they die. Whereas HatTrick, with no fungicides, we got a reduction in yield, but we still got the header into the plot. So HatTrick's resistance to Ascochyta is so good that in most seasons it won't require a fungicide spray. But in seasons conducive to disease, if you plant Jimbor and don't manage it, it'll die. So in 2011, I was called up to Mungindi and looked at what the grower believed. This isn't the 2011 crop, this is Turawina last year. The grower believed it was HatTrick, and the plants looked like this. I've never seen Ascochyta on HatTrick look like that. And so I said to the agronomist in the Mungindi crop in 2011, are you sure it's HatTrick? And he said, well, the grower believes it's HatTrick. But he decided, in his wisdom, to continue managing the crop, to manage the crop as if it was Jimbor. So what did we do? So this Mungindi outbreak of Ascochyta in HatTrick was so severe that I questioned the identity of the variety. So we engaged this fellow, Dr. Adar Raymond, a molecular biologist at the Warra Ag Institute, and he found 15 DNA markers that identified the 24 most commonly grown chickpea varieties in advanced breeding material in Australia. John Thalander sent me 36 seed lots from the 2011 harvest in Queensland, and from each of those seed lots, Adar grew 8 plants, and he extracted the DNA from each plant and screened each one of those DNA lots with his 15 molecular markers. And in only 15 of those 36 seed lots were all 8 plants deemed to be the same. In other words, 21, more than half, were mixtures, and that's based on 8 plants. So we knew we were in trouble. This is a subset of the 36. So this is the variety that the grower declared it to be at the point of delivery. These are the 100 seed weights that I did on the samples that John Thalander sent me, and this is the result for the 8 plants based on the DNA molecular markers that Adar developed. So Jimbor, Kyabra, how's that? HatTrick, Amethyst. So these, in this seed lot, which was declared to be Jimbor, only one of the 8 plants was in fact deemed to be Jimbor by the molecular test. 6 were Kyabra and 1 was unidentified. This one here, the purple one, the grower declared it to be Jimbor, all 8 plants were HatTrick. And so on we go down. Now the molecular work is confirmed or supported by the seed weights. Amethyst is an old variety, a small seeded variety, and its 100 grain seed weight, 100 seed weight was never over about 15 and a half grams. So this variety that was declared to be Amethyst cannot be Amethyst based on its seed weight, and it's no surprise that it was identified as Jimbor. Likewise, how's that? How's that's an older variety, not much grown around here. but a large seeded variety, much bigger seeds than 17.2 grams. 17.2 is within Flipper's range, so it's no surprise that 6 out of the 8 plants in this seed lot were actually identified as Flipper. And surprise, that 2011 Mungandai crop that the grower thought was HatTrick was in fact identified by molecular methods as Jimbor. So why is it important to know the identity of your variety? Well, obviously from your point of view as agronomists and growers, you need to know what it is so you can manage the diseases properly. There's no point in spraying a variety with an MR resistance to Ascochyta if that's what it truly is. You're wasting money. But if you think it's an MR and it's actually susceptible, if you don't spray it, you're going to be in trouble. We need to know what these varieties are so that we can minimise the risk to resistance genes in MR-type varieties. So if you've got a mixture of HatTrick plants and Jimbor plants in the same paddock, and the Jimbor, and it's an Ascochyta conducive year, all the Jimbor plants are going to get hammered, and that's going to put extra pressure on the HatTrick plants. So the accurate identity will help prolong the life of new varieties. It'll instill confidence in the seed industry. It gives you people legal rights. So if you buy seed from a seed merchant and it turns out not to be what he said it was, you can take him to court. And finally, it ensures that the royalties are returned to the breeding program so that the chickpea breeders can keep doing their job. So managing Phytophthora, know your paddock and your variety. Do not put PBA Boundary in any paddock that you even think might have Phytophthora. There has been some nice advancements made at Sardi in Adelaide with the Predictor B system. They now have a Predictor B test for Phytophthora medicaginous, the cause of chickpea Phytophthora root rot. It's not quite up to speed yet for soil testing, but it does discriminate between medicaginous and related species. So they said that they hope to have it available for soil testing this year. And with the chickpea variety purity, make sure you know where your seed is coming from and what variety it is. So if you need any further proof that we've got a problem in our chickpea seed industry, this is a photo I took in a paddock at Boomi last August. The grower started planting, I think he started on this side of the paddock and he ran out of seed, so he went and got some more seed and finished the job off over here. But it might have been the other way around. So the seed lots came from 2 different people, from his neighbours, which as we all know is illegal. But they all believed, and this is the sad part about it, they all believed, this farmer and the 2 neighbours all believed that the variety was HatTrick. Now they are clearly 2 separate varieties, and it's possible that neither of them's HatTrick. In any case, how are they going to manage Ascochyta if last year was an Ascochyta favourable season, which fortunately it was not. So, you know, you've got to treat it as a susceptible variety. If you don't know what the variety is, you don't want Ascochyta to tell you what it is. So, there we are, Mr Chairman. I don't know how you people are going to solve this problem. I mean, Sean's got the Phytophthora root rot under control, you know. The industry's putting in $2.5 million. He's only been on the job for a short time, but he's doing a fantastic job, and we're very lucky to have him in our chickpea community. But this problem, this is something you guys have to fix. And I think one of the reasons that, I think how we got there is through not only through over-the-fence trading, but I think over-the-fence trading's played a big part in it. So not only is it illegal, but it's led to this mess. And I'd suggest that we're all going to have to try and fix it. Dr. Attar is no longer with the department, so the test has been put on hold. It hasn't been validated, so it hasn't been peer-reviewed or published. But Dr. Tim Sutton at the University of Adelaide, who's sequencing the world collection of chickpea genotypes as part of an Australia-India project, has agreed to progress this work. So they're sequencing all these 24 varieties again as part of that project. And once the molecular tool has been developed and validated, It will be then handed over to industry. I'm not sure who does anyone know who's doing the sunbale testing? Is that with GrainCorp or John?
Don't know.
Sorry? Grain growers. Thanks, Jack. Yeah. Yeah, so it won't be available for this season, but hopefully be available for next season.
All
So
right.
if you're not sure about what variety you've got, don't put it in the ground and go and get some stuff that you're pretty confident about.